Hey guys, this is God of Politics. Welcome back to a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, join the Discord that is linked down in the description and check out the website, which is also linked down in the description. But in today's video, I am doing a special video with politics predictions. I'll play the clip of the video we did together right after this, but I just wanted to let you know this is a special video that we did do. You should go subscribe to his channel. I have it linked down in the description. He has, he's a very smart guy. He's got a good channel. He's got good videos, so you should all go check him out. So here's the video.
Today, I'm going to go over both Joe Biden and Donald Trump's best case scenario, and I'm also joined with God of Politics.
Hello.
Yeah. So first off, let's go over the safe states of Washington, Oregon, California, New Mexico, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, Hawaii, Illinois, and Maine's 1st District along with its senatorial votes.
I mean, these are states that have been going to the Democrats for a while, and they will go to Joe Biden very easily, regardless of whether this is his best case or not. Yeah.
Yeah, and while Nevada, Colorado, Virginia, and New Hampshire aren't widely considered to be safe states, I will put them in the Biden column in the first few minutes, mainly due to the fact of demographic changes. So, in the case of Nevada and Colorado, they have been urbanizing very, very quickly, with the cities of Las Vegas, Denver, and Boulder having increased in population by close to 100% in the last 2 decades, and the large Hispanic growth also contributes to this case in these 2 western states. As for Virginia and New Hampshire, they have been urbanizing as well, but the minority growth has not been as great in New Hampshire, with whites still making up close to 92% of the entire population.
Yeah, and I would just add about Virginia, it's got a large suburban population. You look at that Nova area near the Washington, D.C. area, it's grown very vastly in population, as well as the fact that it's become a lot more Democrat due to suburbs, which across the country have become more Democrat. So that's very notable in those 3 states.
Yeah, but as for the safe Republican states, they are Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Alaska. Each of these states has a clear affinity for the Republican Party, as each of their state legislators is more than 60% Republican, and all of them, with the exception of both West Virginia and Montana, sent 2 Republicans to the Senate.
Yeah, you made a lot of great points there. These are traditionally very Republican states. These are states that, for the most part, have been Republican for a very long time. Some states have been Republican, just started becoming even more Republican. States like Indiana, states like Missouri. Some states you could argue could be, close to around 10 percentage points. States like Alaska, states like South Carolina. But overall, these are states that Donald Trump will not have too much of a worry about winning this cycle.
Yeah. So, as for the rest of the states that are colored in gray, in Biden's best case scenario, he will be winning all of them. In the most likely scenario, this is not going to happen, as states such as Texas and Georgia are still mainly conservative states, but they can still reasonably be won by Biden. So first off, the states that Biden is going to win...
Well, I mean, a state like Texas... Yeah, I was just going to add, a state like Texas and Georgia is very notable due to how demographic changes have shifted these states. And yeah, you made a good point there.
Yeah. So even in Biden's best case scenario, he will be winning the Rust Belt states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So Trump was only able to win this region in 2016 with his promise of helping blue-collar workers keep their jobs, mainly in the automotive industry in Michigan and the fracking industry in Pennsylvania. This promise has been broken due to the massive unemployment rates caused by the coronavirus pandemic, which caused this region to have some of the highest unemployment in the country, with Michigan peaking at 24%. Trump was only able to win this region by razor-thin margins back in 2016, and due to the fact that he has lost the support of blue-collar workers, he will most likely not be winning this region again.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true, because you look at, the history of these states. These are states that didn't go Republican, going back all the way to 1988 and, earlier in some of these cases. You look at a state like Michigan. Barack Obama won this in 2008 by 17 percentage points, and he did really well in those rural areas that Donald Trump capitalized on by improving a lot in 2016. But he's kind of lost a lot of that message, because in 2016, you look at his campaign, it was a lot more populism based, whether you can... How much truth you can put to his campaign is another question, but that's the campaign he ran, and he was able to make inroads with a lot of those voters that he's, losing a lot of support from this cycle.
Yeah. So the next few Republican states that will be voting Democrat in the best case scenario for Biden are the southeastern states of North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. All these states have demographics that are extremely similar in both age and racial demographics. The states of North Carolina and Georgia both have a black population that is close to 20 to 25% of the entire state population, and both have been urbanizing around Atlanta and Raleigh respectively, which gives the Democrats a boost in the state. Along with the fact that Trump has not been doing too well in these states, both of their Senate races are also looking favorably for the Democrats, as Raphael Warnock has been put ahead of his challenger in the Georgia Senate race multiple times in the last few weeks alone, with Biden already having surpassed Trump in terms of polling in Georgia and North Carolina.
Yeah, so Florida's a very interesting state. It's been a very close state for a number of elections. Most notably, you go back to 2000, this state was decided within 1,000 votes. I believe the actual number was around 400 or something. But, there's very notable things about this state. You look at the high Latino population, where Joe Biden has been struggling with so far. You look at the Cuban population, which is actually very Republican in this state. But you also see that there's many areas for Joe Biden to improve. And you look at areas like Duval County and the Jacksonville area, the areas like Hillsborough County, Pinellas County. Those are areas that Joe Biden can improve in. And it can make up for the fact that he may not do as well as Hillary Clinton in areas like Miami-Dade County. You look at the early vote in some of these areas, hasn't been good for Democrats in some areas. It's been better for them in some areas. But, the polling data, which was actually accurate in 2016, has been quite good for Joe Biden so far. So I think that in a good scenario like this, a best case scenario, he would be able to win the state of Florida.
Yeah. So the next group of states I would like to go over are the northern states of Minnesota, Iowa, and Ohio.
So, Minnesota is a state that's been traditionally very blue. It actually hasn't gone to the Republicans since Richard Nixon won in 1972. So it's been Democrat for quite a long time. It's got 2 Democratic senators. It's got a Democratic governor. It's got a Democratic state house, a Republican state senate that's probably going to flip. And, it's been very notable because you had all the protests that were going on this summer. Some people were saying that Trump could flip this state, but it seems like it's not going to turn out that way. It seems like Joe Biden can limit the damage that he's going to have in the northern area, what's called the Iron Range, which is rural legacy Democrats. They're now voting Republican. Joe Biden can limit the damage amongst those voters while gaining in the suburbs of areas like Minneapolis, which should be able to give him a win in Minnesota. These are states Barack Obama won in both 2008 and 2012. Ohio was the big state in 2012 and 2008. Iowa was the state that Barack Obama won easily by 6 points. Donald Trump goes and wins it by 9.5 percentage points. But Iowa's a very swingy state. Joe Biden is projected to do better with white voters. He's projected to do better in a lot of these rural areas that Hillary Clinton, had a unique struggle with, especially in Iowa. And, Joe Biden, in best case scenario, he can win both of these states. I think in a normal scenario, he wouldn't. But, he's doing well in the polls here. And these are states that have voted for Democrats before. They've Ohio is a Democratic senator that they elected in 2018. Iowa, the Democrats won the House elections here in 2018. So Democrats have shown that they can still win in these states, even though they've trended towards the Republicans. And I think in the best case scenario, they still would be able to win both of these states.
Yeah, so the last 2 states that can be given to Joe Biden are Texas and Arizona. In the most likely scenario, Texas will vote Republican in the 2020 election and will be up for contest in the 2024 election, but it is still possible for it to go for the Democrats in 2020. The reasoning behind this is demographic changes and the coronavirus pandemic. Texas has been doing extremely bad compared to the rest of the country in terms of handling the coronavirus pandemic, with a combined total of 850,000 cases, which is only 2,000 behind California. Along with that, the demographic changes in Texas are also contributing to this large political shift. Hispanics in the state now make up close to 30% of the entire state population, and that is only expected to continue with the large-scale migration coming from Mexico. As for the state of Arizona, in the most likely scenario, Biden will be winning the state. Back in 2018, in the midterms, the Republican incumbent lost to their Democratic challenger by in a range of 48% to 52%, which shows a clear affinity for the Democratic Party in Arizona. Along with that, the large-scale urban growth in cities such as Phoenix and Tucson have also contributed to this large demographic shift in Arizona. Just like Texas, Arizona is also experiencing a large-scale Hispanic shift in the state. which will put into the Democratic column and will most likely give it another Democratic senator for the 2020 election.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that a little bit, the reason these states have become so blue is because of those urban areas and those suburban areas. You look at areas like Harris County in Texas, that was a county that Barack Obama won by 0.1 percentage points. Hillary Clinton goes on and wins that county by 13 percentage points. You look at areas like Dallas County, Tarrant County, Travis County, all these areas, these big counties in the state are trending towards the Democrats. And this is a state that, it did trend towards the Democrats 8 points from 2012 to 2016. Donald Trump won it by 9 points in 2016. So it would be tough for the Democrats to win it, and they probably won't end up winning it. But in a best case scenario, they have a lot of room to gain and not much room to lose. So I think that it is a state that is going to be very important in the future, especially due to the number of electoral votes that it has. But it's a very important state, and I think that in the best case scenario, Joe Biden would be able to win it.
So the last two electoral votes that can be given to either candidate are the outlying districts of both Nebraska and Maine, which I will be giving to Biden in this scenario, mainly due to the fact that he's polling better in these two regions. It is very hard to determine how these regions will vote in the upcoming election, but in the most likely scenario, they will be voting for Joe Biden.
I mean, yeah. Just to add on to that, Maine's 2nd district voted for Obama by like 8 percentage points and then goes and votes for Trump by 10 percentage points. So that is due to the rural trend. But Joe Biden has done better with those voters. And while it's hard to poll these kinds of areas, Joe Biden has done well in the polls for these areas. Same thing with Nebraska's 2nd district, which, on the other hand, is a very suburban district with a lot of college-educated voters, which is, part of that shift to the Democratic Party. So Joe Biden has the ability to win both of these districts.
Yeah. So in the end, in Biden's best case scenario, he will be ending with a total of 413 electoral votes compared to Trump's 125. In many of these states, such as Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida, he will be winning these states by only a tilt margin of less than 10,000 votes. But in the best case scenario, this can happen for Joe Biden.
I mean, it does look very difficult for Joe Biden to get 413 electoral votes, but when you just look at the nature of a lot of these states, Joe Biden can do this, and it would be a tall challenge, but it is possible.
But as for Donald Trump's best case scenario, he will be winning traditionally conservative states such as Texas, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. All these states continue to have a Republican-controlled state legislature, and all of them send 2 Republicans to the Senate. While they have been trending Democrat for some time, it is not enough to completely flip these states or transform them into swing states completely in terms of both Georgia and Texas. While Biden still has a chance of winning each of these states, he most likely will not and will carry all 4 of these states.
Yeah, I mean, just to talk about that, those are all 4 states that Trump won in 2016. And to win them again, he's just got to keep his core voter base of, in a lot of these cases, white voters that are non-college educated. And if he can do that and he can limit the damage in a lot of these suburban areas, he will be able to win these states while also continuing to gain in the rural areas. That's his path to victory in these states. And I think it is a very plausible and possible path to victory.
Yeah. So the next group of states I'd like to go over are the Rust Belt states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which, in the best case for Trump, will all be voting for him. While Trump has been lagging in these states, with Michigan only being given a 10% chance of voting for him, he still has a fair chance of victory in each of these states. After the first and second presidential debates, Trump has increased in popularity in these states, with Wisconsin increasing from 10% to 15% and Pennsylvania increasing from 12% to 17%.
And yeah, I mean, you look at these states back in 2016, this was supposed to be, that blue wall, that firewall for the Democrats. Trump broke into that firewall. He, outperformed the polls in these states, and he was able to get a victory. And, it is possible for him to do it again. There's areas for him to grow and expand, and especially the rural areas. You look at, areas like the WOW counties, the suburban areas of Wisconsin, the rural areas of Wisconsin, same thing in Michigan and Pennsylvania. There are areas for Trump to gain. And if he can do what he did in 2016, he can win all 3 of those states.
Yeah. So the next 2 states I'd like to go over are the western desert states of Arizona and Nevada. Arizona is now considered a swing state by most major polling outlets, but it can still be won by Trump by a reasonable amount. Before the coronavirus pandemic, Trump was given a 70% chance of winning the state compared to any Democratic challenger such as Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden. Now that the coronavirus has hit Arizona especially hard, that has been decreased to 30%, but it could still reasonably be won by the Republicans, as Arizona still has a very large conservative voter base.
Well, yeah, I mean, you pointed out that there is still a Republican voter base. It's a very moderate voter base. There's going to be people that vote for Mark Kelly while also voting for Donald Trump because they're more moderate. And if Trump can, maybe win Maricopa County or lose it narrowly, he can still hold on to the state of Arizona. And, you're looking at the state of Nevada, he just has to do better with Latino voters. And, we talked about earlier these struggles that Joe Biden's had with Latino voters. He just has to do a little bit better with them and also, do better in some of these Las Vegas suburban areas. And if he can do that, he can win the state of Nevada because, it was quite close in 2016. And according to the polls, he was actually supposed to win it in 2016. So that's very notable. And it's a state that in Trump's best case scenario, he would be able to win, I believe.
So the next two states I'd like to go over are the now rural states of Ohio and Iowa. In the last couple of decades, the urban centers of Ohio have been decreasing in population, with the cities of Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus having decreased by 15% each. This gives rural Republicans in Ohio a greater boost in voting power, as these traditionally Republican voters can now swing the state red once more after Trump has won in 2016.
Ohio's a state, and Ohio and Iowa are states that trended very Republican in 2016. As I pointed out before, Iowa was won by Obama by 6, won by Trump by almost 10. Ohio was won by Obama by 2, won by Trump by over 8 percentage points. So these are states that, Trump gained a lot in 2016, and if he can keep that voter base together of people that used to vote Democrat now vote Republican, he's going to be able to win both of these states quite easily.
So the last two states I can give to Donald Trump are the northern states of Minnesota and New Hampshire.
Yeah, so you look at Minnesota first, as I pointed out before, sure, it's a state that the Republican Party has not won at the presidential level since 1972, but it was very close in 2016. Hillary Clinton only won it by 1.5 percentage points. And like I pointed out before with the Iron Range, if Trump can improve in the Iron Range, if he can do better in areas like Duluth, Minnesota, and also actually do better in the Minneapolis suburbs, there's been this talk about the fact that there have been protests and riots and things like that Trump could do better in those areas. If that is possible, if he can do better in those suburban areas, he can win the state of Minnesota because it is a state that, it's very weird in terms of its voting patterns. And it is a state that Trump has the ability to win if he can pull off an upset in the state. You look at the state of New Hampshire next, it's a state that, is a very, very white state. It's got, I think it's like, 98% white, some number like that. And it's a state that's, the most conservative state in the Northeast. It's been very close in 2016. It was the closest state in terms of the raw vote number. And, Trump does have the ability to win it. He's been campaigning here a little bit. The polls have shown it, not too close, but in a best case scenario, it is a state that he could certainly win given how close it was in 2016. And even, relatively, it was close in 2012 too. So both Minnesota and New Hampshire are states that he could also win in this election.
So the last two regions that I can give to Donald Trump are the outlying districts of both Maine and Nebraska. Both of these districts voted for Trump in 2016 and will most likely vote for him again in 2020. While Maine is a mainly Democratic state, Trump can still win the second district, as he won it by close to 10% back in 2016, and he's not trending too bad in that region. As for the outlying district of Nebraska, it is very hard to pin down how it will vote, but it is reasonable to say that I can vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. You look at Maine's second district, it voted for him by more than any of the other great states that we had. Even a state like Texas and Iowa had voted for him by over 10 percentage points. So it's a district, not a state, but it's a district that he can do very well in, and I expect him to do well in again. And I do think he will be able to win it. Nebraska's second district, if he can, hold on to the suburbs, suburbs in most areas will trend towards the Democrats this election. But if he can hold on to it in this district, he is campaigning there soon, I believe. If he can do that, then he will be able to win Nebraska's second district.
Yeah. So in the end, in Donald Trump's best case scenario, he will win by a total of 326 electoral votes compared to Joe Biden's 212. In the most likely scenario, Joe Biden will be winning states such as Minnesota along with the Rust Belt, but in the best case scenario, he can reasonably win these states.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a wide battleground map, and there's a lot of states that could really go either way, but we'll see with the election, which is, in just 11 days now.
Yeah. But in the end, Joe Biden will be most likely winning the election, but it's not unreasonable to say that Trump can lose. So, in the end, I'd like to thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe.